Waiting a couple of seconds. The last people being let in. But that's great. Cool. Yeah, let's start. Good afternoon and good morning to the audience joining and still joining this webinar. Welcome to the second edition of the ARK1 Network webinar series. So this series is targeting HR executives, global mobility professionals, but also private people who want to move across countries or across borders, and who have questions and concerns around compliance considerations and compliance requirements. The session, which you will be attending today, will be recorded, and we want this session to be interactive. So if you have any questions throughout the panel discussion, which will be held by our experts in the call today, please put them into the chat, and then a quarter to the end of this session, we will open the Q&A and we'll ask all your questions you have. So after the first successful inauguration of this webinar series, starting with Inbound Africa, the ARK1 network has decided to continue with this webinar series and make it a tradition. And today we're going to talk about Europe and European requirements. Who is we? My name is Daniel Zinner, and I'm the founder of the People Mobility Alliance. We connect the dots between people, technology, and relocation. And I'm very happy to facilitate this session once more. And before we bring on our country experts and network partners, I really would like to thank the NOAA Mobility and its ARK1 network for providing this opportunity of collaboration and exchange. The ARK1 network is a global group of relocation and global mobility experts collaborating seamlessly and delivering services anywhere in this world. With the exception, there's this human touch related to that. NOAA Mobility, with its ARK1, was founded by Katrin Ruland. She's also attending this call today. She's a senior relocation leader based in Germany with experience in running global businesses for decades now. No operations, no webinar, no relocation administration without Rajesh Jakob. Rajesh is part of the NOAA Mobility team, and he's a senior global mobility leader who runs the NOAA Mobility ARK1 network. Again, as we said, or as I said, this session today is for exchange and learning. It has to be, or it will be interactive and strictly practical. Looking at our experts we have from the ARK1 network in the call, you might ask yourself, oh my God, 60 minutes, can we cover all these topics? No, we will not be able to cover all the topics, but all the experts from the ARK1 network will be reachable after this session as well. So talking about our experts, I would like to open the round to our experts to introduce themselves. What I'm very much interested in always is, where are you physically based as an expert? What is your area of responsibility? And what's your experience with relocation and global mobility? We have to limit the introduction per person to 30 seconds. And let's start with Beatriz from Spain.
Thank you, Daniel, for the introduction and for inviting us to this webinar. So I'm Beatriz Carro. I'm covering Spain. I'm based in Barcelona, and I'm the founder of BRS Global Mobility. I founded BRS Global Mobility nearly 25 years ago. We operate in the whole country, and we deliver destination, immigration, and tax services. We have a team of 40 people, within also immigration lawyers and tax lawyers. So it's a pleasure for me to share with you my experience and knowledge on the Spanish mobility market. Thank you, Daniel.
Perfect, Beatriz. Let's stay in your region or in your area, and let's continue with Rosanna.
Hi, everyone. So yes, thank you, Daniel. I'm Rosanna. I am the founder of Movio. We're a relocation and immigration and global mobility based in Portugal. We have offices in Lisbon and in Porto, and we serve the whole of Portugal with our teams there. And our main focus right now is working with HR and with private clients. So thank you for joining this webinar.
Thanks, Rosanna. Let's stay in the south of Europe and move a bit more to the east. Boris, where are you based?
Hi, everyone. This is Boris Sautankov with Matrix Global Mobility, based in Sofia, the capital of Bulgaria, from where I lead the mobility services at the company. Matrix covers Bulgaria, Greece, Croatia, and Serbia as our core markets. And from those locations, we are servicing the broader southeastern part of Bulgaria. Already close to 15 years in the industry, covering immigration, destination services, and global mobility for both corporate clients and lately, increasingly, private individuals. And I'm happy to be here today with all of you.
Thank you, Boris. And we stay in the east and move to Hungary. Stuart.
Thank you, Daniel. Yeah, great to be here as well with my esteemed colleagues. My name's Stuart McAllister. I own and manage Relocation, headquartered in Budapest, Hungary. I've been in this industry, rather like Beatrice, for just coming up on 25 years. And through the Relocation group, we provide immigration and destination services across currently 15 countries within the Central Eastern European region. Although today I will be focusing on my home location of Hungary.
Perfect. Thank you, Stuart. And now we have a last country being represented by Keir, and this country doesn't really belong to Europe, but it wants to belong to Europe. Over to you.
Wow, that's a lovely way to start. Hi everyone. Hey to those who know me. My name's Keir Jones. I am founder at Adlio Relocation. We're based in the UK. We are DSP. We deal with inbound and outbound assignments. We cover the UK in its entirety. I've been in the business for almost 20 years now, seen quite a lot of change, but at the moment we are very much believe in our technology enabled but people first service delivery, which we share with the rest of our fellow members on the ARK One network. Thanks, Daniel.
Thanks, Kieran. As you are from the UK, I know you understand the humor. So
yeah, no.
This is why. Cool. But then, so this was the introduction. Well done. Let's straight dive into the topics. Yeah, we have our experts talking about their local requirements and local changes and the compliance topics. If you have any questions to our experts, put your question into the chat and we address them in the Q&A. And if you can't manage time-wise, you will be helped after the webinar. So, Rosanna, let's start again with the peninsula in Southwest Europe. What's the update you would like to provide to the audience on Portugal?
Thank you, Daniel. Well, quite a lot has happened in Portugal, so I'm going to try to squeeze in as much as I can in the 6 minutes. Portugal is still a very attractive destination for highly qualified workers, but also for digital nomads and retirees. We're getting quite a lot of private clients lately. But tax planning and immigration planning is crucial because a lot of things have changed. So I'm going to go a little bit with the main changes that we've had. So the first one is minimum wage and income requirements change. In 2026, minimum wage was updated to 920 euros from 820 that was before. And this mattered because most immigration routes use the minimum wage as a reference point for proving means of subsistence when you're requiring the visa. To give you a couple of important examples, for the D7, which is the retiree visa application, this means we need to look at whether the applicant has stable recurring income that meets or better exceeds the required threshold. And the income must come from passive sources like pensions, investments, royalties. It must not come from active work. In the case of the digital nomads, the calculation is different. So the D8 route is linked to remote work income and uses a higher income threshold, generally 4 times the minimum wage. So currently almost 4,000 euros per month for the main applicant. And these must be proven sources of work outside of Portugal. This is where we want to see like remote contracts, service agreements, invoices, bank statements. So in this case, this is something we need to keep in mind. Another big change we've had in Portugal is the nationality timelines. Just back in May this year, the law changed and Portugal has moved away from the old 5-year expectation for many applicants. And under the new framework, the period now is 7 years for EU nationals and CPLP. Just a disclaimer, CPLP is Portuguese-speaking countries or ex-colonies like Brazil, Angola, Mozambique. And then for the other nationalities, is 10 years. So a lot of planning comes into that. And it's a very important distinction because now the nationality time counts from the moment you received your residence permit and not from when the application happens. So for long-term residents, the advice is to keep every renewal clean and keep continuous legal residency and then plan for 5 years for permanent residence and then go for the nationality after 10 years. Another important thing, which is not a recent change, it changed in 2024, is the tax landscape. Portugal became very famous for the NHR, which was very open for almost anyone who wanted to relocate here. And in 2024, it closed down. So the new incentive framework is much more targeted. The current one often is focused on specific professional profiles like scientific research, innovation, higher education, for example. And even if you're a digital nomad and your area of work, it is in between these professions, then you might qualify. And it's very interesting because you can get a cap of 20% as a tax benefit, but it's not as broad as it was before. Another important change, and I think this is the one that affects the most families, is family reunification. So the general rule now is that the principal resident might need to hold a valid residence permit for at least 2 years before requesting family reunification. The important thing is that there are exceptions. So for example, including minor or dependent children or the spouse or partner who is also the parent of a minor dependent child, then they get to do reunification altogether. In some categories, like highly qualified permits, blue card, and investment, they get to reunite together. So it doesn't apply for everyone. So we need to look at the family structure before we advise on the route. I give you an example, like a single applicant moving first and establishing here in Portugal under a regular work permit, not highly skilled, might have to wait for the 2 years before being able to relocate their family. Last and not least is the golden visa, which together with the tax regime made Portugal very famous. It also changed. So right now the real estate route, which was the most famous one, is not a central option any longer. But the current eligible routes include investment into qualified non-real estate funds, scientific research, cultural or artistic production and heritage, job creation. So before anyone considers the golden visa, it's important to make sure that the immigration law firm that you're using understands the investment routes and can guide you before the assessment for the golden visa. So overall, my advice is to be prepared and having the right documents and having the right partner to assess all of this information before, and it's very crucial. And also expectation management. This is something that I cannot stress enough with HR and with private clients right at the beginning of the process, if possible, so they know what's likely, what might take longer, what the timeframes are. Portugal remains a very attractive and stable and relevant for retirees, remote workers, and highly skilled people. But the ones that succeed are the ones that are very prepared at the beginning. If you have any questions, I'm open to answer after the webinar or via contact as well.
Thank you, Rosanna. Yes, this was high speed and very much on-time delivery. Thank you very much for that.
I tried.
Yes, and you succeeded. But yes, for all the people in the call who might not have been able to follow or who joined later, whatever Rosanna and all the other experts will be saying, there will be checklists being distributed after the call for each region or country. And as Rosanna just said, we have the Q&A and all the experts will be available even after the webinar. Yes, so this is Portugal, tick. Let's move on to Spain. Beatrice, what's going on in Spain? Any urgencies, any things to consider?
Yes, actually, Spain has changed tremendously since actually I started with the relocation in Spain. You probably know that Spain is the second fastest growing economy in Europe after Poland. And 14.7% of the workforce in Spain is actually foreigners. 7% in Madrid and 20% of workforce is in Barcelona. And Spain, like Portugal, is an attractive country for international talent. We don't actually have a problem in attracting talent, but we have a big problem in the landing problem when people arrive. So we have here actually two big issues. One is immigration, and the second part is the housing. So as in Portugal, we had some changes last year in May. The government actually introduced a reform with the aim of actually simplifying procedures and focusing more on employment, training, and family. So some of these changes has been, for example, the job search has been extended. People who have finishes their graduate studies in Spain, they could request a work visa for 12 months. This has been extended for 24 months instead of 12 months. Another important change is students who could work for 30 hours and they were actually changing the student visa to work visa. They don't have to work until the work visa has been granted. Once actually the file has been accepted, they can immediately start to work. And a recently new change was actually the new regularization in Spain. I don't know if you heard that the government wanted to grant 500 resident permits for people who were illegal in Spain. Okay, actually today is the last day for the application. It started in April. And up to now, 900 application has been filed. I don't know how the government will do because they only want to grant 500 applications. This has created a lot of problems in securing, for example, fingerprint appointments, getting city hall registrations, because everybody needs to register with the city hall in order to get this permit. So we are having a collapse here in delays with the police officers, with the city halls in all Spain. And a recent change now in June was also like in Portugal, the change of salary for high qualified. Not much, but from 40,000 to 41,500. But a good news is that for actually people who graduated in the last 3 years, the salary can be reduced to 33,000 euros instead of 41. So this is good news for people who just graduated. We still have the digital nomad visa like in Portugal. In the last 3.5 years, I mean, the digital nomad visa started in January 2023. Spain has granted 32,000 digital nomad visa, which is actually 8,000 per year. It's not that much, okay? So I just want to address to the HR people when I mean, the law is quite straightforward, but it's important not to assume that every case is the same. We need to make sure the nationality, the family, where they have been living before, job price, timing, all of these can change actually the strategy. So this is on the immigration side. I'm going to pass to the housing part, which is one of the biggest challenges in Spain, and I think in other parts of Europe. I've never ever seen this in my whole relocation history. We have a shortage of 750 homes in Spain. This is announced by the Bank of Spain. In our website in Idealista are now 25% less advertisement than last year. So we have 85,000 listings instead of 110,000 listings of last year. So agencies are no longer advertising properties because they have waiting list. We have good relationship, you know, during the years with agencies. So we do receive sometimes properties beforehand, but this doesn't guarantee that the foreigners will actually be selected as a tenant, okay? Also, prices have increased by 8.5% in Spain this year, from May to May, 4%, but last year, 8%. Prices in Barcelona are 24 euros per square meter. It's the most expensive city in Spain. It's Barcelona. And also landlords are very selective. So actually they select people with Spanish pay slips history, so at least 3 months. They prefer to have 2 people instead of 1 person to have more income. So it's the first time in my history that we're seeing that our clients are also being rejected as tenants. So this HR needs to make sure, how are we going to address this? As Rosanna said, it's important to prepare the move earlier, to communicate, to set expectations. And we recommend to secure temporary housing at least for 1 month. So just to conclude the situation in Spain, I must say it's quite complicated at the moment. It's also important that HR combine immigration, housing, taxes. Everything needs to be in a package because everything is related nowadays in Spain. As Rosanna said, we also have a special tax regime in Spain, which is the Beckham law, which is 24% taxes, which applies to foreigners who are going to move to Spain because of work. Okay, some people want to have everything: tax, immigration. So we need to figure out how we can combine this so they can have everything in place. So this is my conclusion on Spain. Still very attractive, but challenges in some parts, housing and especially immigration as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Beatrice. Now you took my conclusion. I just wanted to say Portugal and Spain remain highly attractive for inbound moves for different reasons. Compliance, ongoing challenge which needs to be handled, and the housing market. Seems to be one of the biggest challenges. Sounds a bit like Berlin. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Let's move to Hungary with Stuart.
Thank you, Daniel. Well, the world, or at least Europe, was the focus of attention. Was very focused on Hungary this year when the longest-standing EU leader, Viktor Orban, I don't like to say his name 3 times, otherwise he might come back, was finally ousted after 16 years in power. Power being the operative word, because he definitely had a very, very strong grip on the country, and was ousted by somebody who took advantage of the very system he'd manipulated, and came from within that sort of machine, Peter Magyar. But I'm going to take you back, first of all, to the biggest change that we experienced in more than 20 years of handling immigration and relocation services in Hungary, which was a total rewriting of the immigration law and permit structure at the beginning of 2024. Just to give you an idea of what it's like when you have a 2/3 majority in the Hungarian parliament, you can implement a law and have it, and then dictate that it will come into force on the 27th of December 2023, with then stating to the immigration authority, the foreign police, that it should be implemented from the 1st of January, which I think was 2 working days. The immigration authority's response was to close down for 3 months, which was unprecedented. We have never experienced that. An interim rule was passed that any existing permits were valid that would expire during that period would be extended until April. EU citizens, if they needed to register, could register during January to March, but all EU new permits were not allowed during that period. It was incredible, and not in a good way. This led also then, so the new law as it was implemented had significant changes, particularly for non-skilled and lesser skilled workers. The main one being, and this is again where Hungary likes to be weird, for non-skilled and lesser skilled workers, only workers from Armenia, Georgia, and the Philippines, for non-EU or EEA countries, were allowed to apply for lower skilled permits, and their family members were not allowed to accompany them, and these permit types would not qualify for later for permanent residence. The intention here was to bring in non-skilled workers, for those non-skilled workers not to stay for longer than 3 years, not to bring their families, and basically not to establish a long-term base. This is my personal opinion, is this is very foolish. We have significant shortages of non-skilled and lower skilled workers in Hungary. And if you're an employer and every 3 years you have to change those lower skilled workers or non-skilled workers, that's a very significant problem. I would add at this point that Hungary, along with Luxembourg and Slovakia, is one of only 3 EU countries where its foreign-born population is more from within the EU than outside it. So it has a very low proportionately number of non-EU citizens as workers, and also a very, very low birth rate. So again, I'm just offering my opinion on the scenario and the situation in Hungary. It needs workers from abroad across the spectrum, and as one of the countries that has the lowest average salaries and actually quite high local costs, it needs to be attractive to non-EU talent as well. Some companies, by the way, were therefore unable to hire the appropriate talent. So if you had somebody who was quite skilled, but that skill was not related to a diploma or degree. So unfortunately, the EU blue card in Hungary required, in many cases, a master's degree. Well, you might have somebody who has extremely high skills for a particular task, but that's not academically highly skilled. Then those employees could not be hired unless they worked for they lived in those particular 3 countries. Armenia, Georgia, and the Philippines, by the way, were the only countries to sign an agreement with Hungary to repatriate their workers in the event that those employees ceased working and refused themselves to leave. There were exceptions. There were strategic investments, which, by the way, meant which focused mainly on large Chinese, in some cases German investments related to battery manufacturing and automotive. So BYD and BMW both established factories in Hungary in the last few years, and there were significant influx of workers relating to those factories, both from within the EU and outside. So fast forward to 2026, it became very, very quiet in the early part of this year in our experience and in the experience of our competitors, and we talked to each other. Everybody was waiting for the general election. General election, as we now all know, created a very positive result. We have a new government. Everybody's feeling very, very positive about the result. However, from a purely immigration point of view, we're still waiting, and the jury is still out as to what this really means for business. The short-term pain has come in the form of a complete ban on new guest workers. So this is unskilled labor. This is partly due, though, because let's say friends of the former government were running this almost as a people trafficking operation, in our opinion. As I understand it, the individuals were actually having to pay a fee to be brought into Hungary as workers, in addition to the employers also paying a fee to certain manpower management companies. That has been ceased. There is an ongoing fundamental review of the immigration process, the laws and the rules that hopefully will, in consultation with big business and maybe even companies like ours, will result in hopefully a more business-friendly environment that will stimulate foreign direct investment and also the arrival of more private individuals. I would say that we've been having some private individuals wanting to relocate into Hungary. We do currently have a golden visa permit, although for how long that will operate, I don't know. And we've had several private individuals who have applied for Hungarian citizenship maybe through family, so ancestry, and then have arrived, mainly coming from the United States, perhaps people who are dissatisfied with the political environment there, or coming from Israel and other Middle Eastern countries due to the instability in that part of the world. That's where we are at present. I think the conclusion from my side is we are hopeful for a better environment in the near future.
Thank you very much, Stuart. So my key takeaways are political stabilization has found its way. There's a big requirement for industrial workforce. Yeah, and the compliance or the immigration laws, they're being shaped. Yeah, handing over or staying in the region, but handing over to Boris, who provides us an update on a couple of countries.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Similar to Hungary, Bulgaria also just a week after Hungary had its election day, which after five elections in 5 years and for the first time since 1997 brought a single party majority, which was new for many of the younger population of the country. It's still early days of the new government that we have. So we still don't know where exactly it will bring the country to. But after years of short-lived governments, at least maybe the one positive thing is that, let's say, predictability is a bit around. But as I said, it's still early to say what this will bring in general. What's actually happening around the region and in Bulgaria in particular is that we see a significant work permits surge, which only in Bulgaria since 2021 has been exponentially growing. So we went from around 4,500 work permits in Bulgaria in 2021 to over 41,000 last year. And we are already close to 30,000 of work permit applications in just the first half of this year, where tourism alone took probably half of that work permits that were issued. But this is where the HR teams need to really know and what to focus is that the Bulgarian system is still very much paper oriented. The digitalization is ongoing, but still with very slow pace. So employers are physically escorting foreign staff to notaries, the migration office, just to file paperwork and to be present at every step personally and on site. There is some electronic submission that it's possible, but in general, it's still, as I said, it's still in its early stages. So not working very well. The government knows it's a problem and digitalization efforts are on the way, but again, very slowly moving. So in practice, 2 to 4 months end to end, if everything goes smoothly, is what is in the best case scenario, what HR teams need to plan when applying and requesting work and residence permits. Due to this real surge of the work permit applications, there is also it's becoming very difficult to book a consular appointment abroad. And especially when we're talking about assignments from third countries, all the documents that need to be used from those locations outside of the European Union, they need to be apostilled, they need to be translated, legalized. They need to be used on paper, which adds real weeks of work, which many HR teams don't plan for. So my message here, the main outcome is that we should not, for the time being, we need to deal with the system as it is, and everything needs to start early and prepare in advance so that there is some buffer time for preparation, especially for the immigration paperwork. A significant change for Bulgaria is the euro adoption that took place now from the 1st of January of 2026. And this matters whether you are sending someone in or bringing someone in from anywhere in the world. Bulgaria is now the 21st Eurozone member. And for multinationals, whether US company sending an executive or Asian company that is posting some technical stuff to Bulgaria. Now the split payroll reconciliation is gone, no FX costs on allowances, extra costs, and the cost of living benchmarking is now much more direct against any home currency once it's converted through the euro. And also for the SMEs in particular, regardless of where they are coming from, when they arrive to Bulgaria, they no longer need to open a Bulgarian lev account and then another euro account if they need to. Now it's just a single euro account, so no more juggling between the lev conversion on top of their home country currency. Lately, the majority of the third country nationals coming in for work are from India, Uzbekistan, Nepal, Turkey. So in general, the euro doesn't directly affect their permit process, but it does mean once they are here that their salaries, rent, and daily life are now in a currency which the rest of Europe already understands, and this fact matters for any multinational tracking costs centrally. And the third topic that I would like to cover, and some observation that we notice is a bit of a surprise for us, especially in the past 6 months. It's that more and more individual clients are approaching us directly in the region, and only in the past 12 months we have more individual clients that we have serviced compared to the previous 5 years combined. These are not coming through corporate HR, not through the usual relocation management companies. This time people are doing their own research and approaching us directly. There are several real routes that are driving this in Croatia, in Bulgaria, and Greece. One of these are the digital nomads that we also have a dedicated residence permit since a few months ago. Remote workers, freelancers, online entrepreneurs working for clients outside of their home countries with income requirements, which are the requirements are much lower than the actual earnings that most of these people have. We are also seeing some genuine investment-driven relocation, whether it's buying a property or company owners who are looking for a region where they can invest some of their money, start a new business here, or new homeowners which have been attracted by the much more favorable climate conditions that the region offers. And last but not least, now with Bulgaria in particular ticking most of the boxes that the European country can do, being in the European Union, in the Eurozone, then the Schengen, has a flat 10% income tax, which for high earners specifically is genuinely one of the most attractive personal tax rates anywhere in Europe. But as I said, we are seeing the same pull also to Greece and Croatia. But Bulgaria has quietly assembled every single one of these pieces and ticking a lot of the boxes. One more thing that is worth flagging is the housing topic. With all this demand, both from companies and individuals, the capitals in the region, Sofia, Athens, Zagreb, Belgrade, the rental prices and the purchase market has tightened noticeably. Prices have been climbing steadily for the past already 3, 4, even 5 years. And in the most looked after areas, availability for quality furnished housing for incoming assignees is genuinely tight, especially in the peak relocation periods. So this is something that HR teams sometimes underestimate, assuming that the housing is probably the easiest part of the process. But at the moment, and I think for the foreseeable future, finding the right home at the right price with the right lease terms for a foreign tenant takes longer than usual, when it requires local expertise to help in that process. So as a closing note, a permit system in Bulgaria that is under real pressure with digitalization gap that the HR teams need to plan around. The Euro transition that's removed real friction, and individuals finding multiple routes to make the region home on their own terms. So yeah, back to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Boris. I just made a joke. You exceeded your speaking time, so no questions for you. But then Marlene, she had a question. So of course, Marlene, you can put your question in the chat again. So yeah, thanks, Boris, for the comprehensive update. I mean, you had the most countries to cover. What I really like is, I think you confirm my thesis. We're moving away from global mobility to people mobility. So everyone is moving nowadays. What I don't like is, I think now I know where the Germans go. Of course, we have a deficit here. There are more Germans moving out than moving in, and they might move into the southern area of Europe. Okay, but then let's go to the island of the UK.
Thanks, Daniel.
To you.
Okay, so despite not being in the EU, as you kindly pointed out, the UK is still receiving international employees. Companies are still moving here, but the cost of doing this correctly has increased a lot. The government, for mainly political reasons, I would say, is checking more carefully than before that the companies are following the rules. So a few of the key changes, the salary requirement has gone up. To bring a worker into the UK on a skilled visa, companies must pay that employee 41,700 per year. This number has increased by 50% since 2023. Now, the part that some companies might miss is that from April of this year, that salary must be paid in every single period, every month, every week, not just an average across the year. So if an employee earns a lower base salary but receives a bonus at the end of the year, the company may be breaking the rules without realizing it. So takeaway would be any company with variable pay structures like bonuses, commission structures, overtimes need to check this very carefully. Now, to add to that, there is a new annual fee for sponsored workers. When a company brings a worker into the UK, they pay a fee each year called the Immigration Skills Charge. At the end of 2025, this fee increased by 32%. It's now £1,320 per person per year for large employers. To put that in simple terms, say an international company had 50 employees, they're paying 66,000 a year in this charge alone before any legal fees, visa application costs, or relocation expenses. Then to add another layer, which we really need to consider, is since January this year, workers applying for UK skilled worker visa need to demonstrate a higher level of English. The level required is called B2. This is roughly the standard of some who studied English at the end of secondary school, which in some cases is not great, but in other cases it's quite a high standard. The importance point for the HR teams on this, though, is the companies must verify the employees' English level before they start the visa process, not after. If this step is missed, the visa application can be refused. So, kind of coupled with that, a lot of companies are losing their permission to hire international workers. To employ people on visas in the UK, a company needs an official government permission. This is called a sponsor license, and in 2025 alone, they cancelled almost 2,000 of these licenses. Again, this could be for many reasons, but in a lot of cases, the companies weren't doing anything necessarily dishonest. They could be cancelled for simple administration mistakes, a salary recorded incorrectly, a missing right to work check, or a job description that does not match with what was written on the license. Now, the government is coming down harder. Again, I think there's a political motivation behind that, but that's beside the point. These are the things that you have to be aware of. And the consequences are severe. If a company loses its license, then every worker its sponsors can lose their right to stay and work in the UK. Also changing at the end of this year is all physical visa documents in the UK will stop being valid. This includes the biometric residence permits, the paper sticker placed in the passport. Everything will move to a digital system called an e-visa. If a company has not updated its travel HR policies to reflect this, its employees may face being stopped at the border, questioned, or delayed. Any HR team that has not reviewed this in the last 12 months should do that now, really. So let's talk about moving UK employees into Europe. Before 2021, British workers could, I'm not sure what happened then, but before British workers could move more freely into the European Union. That ended when we left the EU. Today, every EU country has its own separate rules for UK workers, their own permits, their own social security requirements, their own notification processes. Even a short business trip can require advance permissions in some countries, which I believe why business travel is doing so well at the moment. And there is a document called an A1 certificate, which confirms that the country's social security system, which the worker belongs to, and where they are working temporarily abroad. If this isn't in place, the employer can face legal consequences, not the employee. So, in short, many companies, I believe, are still managing European assignments using the processes they had post-COVID. Those processes are no longer valid. The companies that have not updated them are taking on risk that they may not be aware of. And this is exactly why local expertise matters and why ARK 1 exists. Over to you, Daniel.
Thanks, Keir. Yeah, still overtime, but you made up some time, so that's great.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, thanks. Thank you very much for all the insights you have given during the last 45 minutes. We have indeed a couple of questions in the chat. As we ended with Keir, I wanted to stay with Keir because there is a question. Where was it? On the UK. Yes, by RG Byrne. Are the fees also if you have employees under GMB visas for the UK? Here, this would be for you.
Yeah, I would need to check that. Unfortunately, I am not an immigration specialist. We cannot do immigration in the UK as part of the DSP. I speak from a DSP point of view. We have partners that deal with that, so I will check that out and get back. If you could share your contact details, I will let you know.
Yes, Archie has left the contact details with the registration, so we will forward it to you.
Perfect. I will get back to you, Archie. Thank you for the question.
Cool. Thank you very much. Then I saw two questions. Oh no, let's move like the other way around, backwards. Marlene, you asked the question to Boris on Bulgaria. What does the rate of home ownership versus rental homes look like in Bulgaria? Just a quick answer, Boris, if possible.
We Bulgarians do love to own our properties, so the majority of the properties are owned by the population. I cannot give you a certain percentage for that, but it's the majority.
That's an answer. Thank you very much. Moving back to Spain, Beatrice, there was the first question in the chat. Considering the property space issues, are companies allowed to hire remote talent?
So actually, yes. I mean, if the company allows them, they can work remotely. The problem will be it will be more difficult to find properties. They need to prove payslips, income, and this can be a little bit more challenging. Also, it depends if they have a long-term assignment contract or if they come just for a certain period of time into Spain. So, but they can.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Moving to Portugal with Rosanna. Do retirees join Portuguese health insurance on the D7 visa? If so, I'd be interested to learn more on how easy or challenging and costly it is to secure suitable health insurance for retirees.
So yeah, as a residence permit holder, no matter what type of visa you have, whether it's the D7 or the digital nomad, you are entitled to join the public healthcare in Portugal. If you're not making any contributions to Social Security, which often happens with D7 retirees, you might have to pay a small amount whenever you have a consult or any emergency. And the thing that we advise is that to join the public healthcare because it has very specialized care for emergencies, but also do the private insurance, which is not costly at all. For a family of 4, it could be about 100, 120 euros. So you can have preventative care through the private care system as well.
Thank you, Rosanna. So these were the questions in the chat. If there's anyone else who wants to raise a question or needs an answer on some of the topics brought up during the meeting, just put it in the chat or raise your hand. In the meantime, we got some questions also before the meeting because some people couldn't join. And I would like to pull in Katrin into the exchange here, Katrin Roland, who's actually the owner of the of Noah Mobility and the ARK network. With a very, let's say, German question. It's about data security. And what's your experience? What's your take on that Noah Mobility dealing and sharing a lot of data when supporting employees or individual moves going to another country? So how does Noah Mobility deal with data security topics?
So thanks, Daniel. First of all, so with AI and all of these new features, what we have, so we are constantly evaluating new IT tools. We're thinking about focusing on European IT tools for the ARK network, and for us, we follow GDPR, and we have constantly trainings supported by DataGuard. And otherwise, if it comes to the ARK IT, we have, once a year, we have a penetration test to make sure everything is compliant and safe. Yeah.
Thank you, Katrin. Another question, which is also interesting to me, actually. I mean, you are an HR tech tool provider or people tech tool provider. And there's all this AI hype around in this world, and internal corporate teams start building their own tools. Do you see a trend that companies actually create their own relocation or global mobility tools, and they don't need these kind of services Noah Mobility or your team is offering?
Again, for me, this question?
Yes.
So, okay, as you know, we believe that tech unites us. So all of the partners here, it supports HR, but I've never seen or experienced that, let's say, an enterprise client started their own tool, their own IT tool, because one thing is to have the IT that connects all the dots, but the other thing is to have this human touch, and this is what we are promoting. So it's a human business. So an IT is needed to bring all of us together, to bring, to support our work. But if if I think enterprise client creates their own IT tool, it's time consuming. You need to have the experience, and then you need to have the people like Kia, Stuart, Beatrice, Rosanna, etc. on the end. So no, I've never experienced this.
Thank you, Katrin. And I think it emphasizes just what you said. Relocation and global mobility business is people business, and it needs hand-holding, or it needs a real human being sitting on the phone or behind an email. And I just see in the chat, there's Saranj Garg is asking or saying, I have an HR company in India. How can we help global companies or countries considering the talent shortage? Maybe that's a question to all of us on the expert group. So how could do you work with companies like the one from Saranj, relocating talent into Europe? And maybe do you have any experience or challenges you could share? Rosanna, I think you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because in the case of Portugal, there's a real shortage when it comes to IT people. And so a lot of the volume that we manage here when it comes to corporations, it's actually local hires. So we work a lot with recruitment agencies, for example, that are doing specialized recruitment for companies here in Portugal, and then we help them with the relocation process. I don't know if that has to do with the question, but it is certainly one of the drivers here in the market right now.
Yes, thank you, Rosanna. Maybe from a German perspective, what we see, yeah, there's a lot of offer, I would say, companies supporting the corporates here in Germany to win talent and to transfer the talent. But yeah, I guess it's sometimes too much, and certain rules and regulations are brought up. This again pays then into the feeling there's a lot of bureaucracy in Germany, but I think this, yeah, the market is big and it's definitely required. But what I see is there's a lot of direct negotiations between the countries, like workforce contracts, or not contracts, but workforce agreements. For example, with India or Brazil, where the German government has a direct deal with the Indian and Brazilian government to bring in people in a secure and fair way. And I guess this will only increase, especially if we talk about blue-collar workers or people not being regarded the high-income earners. Yeah, of course, we want to keep them here in Germany and retain them. Yeah, are there more questions? If not, I mean, we don't have to stay here the last 2 minutes in the webinar. What are the next steps? Let's maybe wrap it up with this. So Rajesh, our Superman from Noah Mobility, he will provide all the attendees with an email afterwards, so within the next couple of days. You will have access to the ARK 1 European inbound checklist I was mentioning at the very beginning. So if you joined later or you couldn't follow, of course, we had this high speed and all these topics, you can read, you have some material. He will provide the link to the resource area of the ARK 1 network, and he will also provide a date for the third webinar session. It's not yet clear when exactly it will happen. Also, the topic is, or the country focus, regional focus, topic focus is not yet clear. So if you provide feedback on what you're interested in for the next session and when you could join or would like to join, this would be greatly appreciated. And yes, a survey link will be provided also after the webinar, asking for your feedback so that we continuously improve. Yeah, and during the next webinar, based on the feedback you provide to us and the focus you want to have, we will pull together another set of ARK One network partners, or some of the partners we have here today. Depends on the topics. So thank you very much to everyone sharing the insights and the experience, and for your active contribution. And see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.